This segment is going to be on the lateral motion of the hips. We hear a lot of stuff in popular magazines, in the media, from other golf instructors, guys on TV. They talk about firing the hips, spinning the hips, rotating the hips. But what is it and when does it happen? If we are trying to get our weight to our front side before we hit the golf ball, somewhat of an imperative with golf, we want to make sure that our hips lead us there. We create pressure on our front foot by either pushing down on it or by getting our hips forward so the pressure is accompanied with a little bit of weight. Whether you set up to the golf ball and you feel as though that the weight moves forward in the backswing, or you get to the right side and then move forward, either way we look at this, we've got to get our weight forward. So, what's the role of the hips? We swing to the top of our swing. If we turn, rotate, fire, spin our hips, whatever you want to call it from right here, those hips are going to spin too early, they're not going to move forward enough, and my weight's going to be on my back foot. What does that do to the club? Comes from the outside, cuts across the golf ball. You can hit an ugly cut. You can hit a pull if the club face was shut. Every now and then you might get a lucky one, but it's not going to be the best that you can do. Mo Norman, one of the best ball strikers ever, talked about horizontal tug, vertical drop. Horizontal tug, vertical drop. So, if I get to the top of my swing and I horizontal tug, and my arms drop vertically, meaning straight down, that gets my arms, my hands, and my club into a position to make good contact on the golf ball, coming from a path that is inside the target line, not from outside the target line. So, all in all, what we're trying to do is go to the top of our golf swing and make a lateral, linear shift toward the target. Notice the knee action in this move. If my knees come to the inside, that knee has to go out to help me move forward. If my knee stays out, I'm already in a position to allow that to happen. A couple different schools of thought there, but you know what? It doesn't matter. All I'm looking for is that the hips move toward the target before they start to turn. A great exercise with one of these fantastic training aids, one of the best I've seen, getting one of the sticks going through each belt loop can really give you an idea of where your hips are. So if I set up this lateral motion of the hips moving toward the target, having your hips close to the target line, is a great source of power. The hips lead and the rest of your body follows. You'll notice that when I get to the top of my backswing here, as I shift forward, this orange stick is getting closer and closer to being parallel to my stick on the ground. However, there is no conscious movement of the hips turning. I save that for later. All I'm looking to do is go from this position here and move forward. That leg will get straighter. This might have a little more bend to it. Not a bad exercise for you guys to try at home. For those of you that have a casting, coming over the top, outside in club path, these are all really the same thing. So if you can get better use of your legs, put them in a better position, a more stable position to allow the arms to come down, you can get better strikes, better contact, and more distance. I think we all want that. To the top, a move forward, and a strike of the golf ball. Up, through. Try that. One thing I've really enjoyed studying with the golf swing is proper body movements. I've had a couple really influential people that are leaders in this industry on how the body is supposed to move most effectively and efficiently to create energy and to create power and speed to this golf club. One way that we found that we can do this is to make sure that we're using the body properly. K-Vest is an example of a tool that we can use to find out how we can create the most energy with our body, using our body's kinetic link or kinetic chain, the kinematic sequence. All these are interchangeable. 3D analysis is unbelievable for this. Xenolink is one of the leaders in the business for this. They analyze the swings by so many different reference points that they can find out and they can figure out how the body is losing energy based on what the body is doing, not what the club is doing. So by getting this club to move on plane, as we've heard, or getting the club face to be in the right angles, if the body can move in the most effective and efficient way, it gives a better chance for the shaft to move on line. And it gives a better opportunity for the face to be moved on line, on plane. So, in this sequence, we are trying to get the hips to provide energy to the torso, then the torso to provide energy to the arms to provide energy to the hands, and then the hands into the golf club. So, if you look at that process, we're trying to get the hips to move and stop, making the chest move and the body move a little bit faster and then slow down, giving that energy being released into the arm where it slows down a little bit, and then into the hands and the club. That's how the kinetic chain works. We are trying to get one area to create a little bit of energy and then pass it on to that next area. It's like having 4 firecrackers, one being lit off just after the next one. If you light all 4 at the same time, you have a bigger explosion than one, and then another, and then another, and then another. If we can get the distance between those explosions to happen in a shorter period of time, we can create an overall larger amount of energy. So, as it relates to the hip move, the first place I'm going to start. The hips do turn, they do rotate, but they have to slide forward first. They have to be set into a position so that they can then rotate. So the sequence of events, we have the hips pulling a little bit on the torso pulling a little bit on the arms pulling a little bit on the hands, and gives this club the most energy that it can. It's pretty simple. For those players that are a little more advanced, and the guys that we see on TV, it has the appearance that they're just not swinging very fast. I mean, look at Ernie Els, the big easy. Makes it look so simple. But he sets his body up in a way so that when it starts to turn, and it starts to turn and rotate toward the target, that each segment is building off the next one. So they're creating a little more energy and a little more power. This segment is on lateral hip movement. What the hips, the role of the hips in the swing. Yes, they're supposed to turn, but when? We want to find a way to get the hips into position so that they can turn. My theory is that the hips can turn early and then slide late, which is ineffective, or they can slide early and then turn. It gives us the most energy possible through that hip turn. It sets our body up into a pre-impact position nice and early, and then everything goes at the same time, or just a little bit after each other.